Welcome to Haunt Topic Radio, the podcast for haunters by haunters. These are our scary visions.
Welcome back, haunters, to another episode of Haunt Topic Radio. Where did March go? Man, we tried to get a podcast out in February and we did not make it because we were so busy getting ready for the Trans World Halloween attraction show, which was the end of February, beginning of March. We'll be going there again next year. So please follow us on our social media pages and our emails. We will let you know when we're going to be there, and what products we're going to bring for Scarab badges. We wanted to get an episode out last month, and we did not make it. So we are going to give you a good episode this time around. We have Haunting Media, Scott and Jewel Simonson. If you're looking for videos for your haunted attractions, good photos, they do it all. We know it is important to have good videos and photos of your characters, of your scenes. If you don't know how to do it, if you need some guidance on doing it right, these are your people. They work with haunts with all types of budgets, and they'll gladly squeeze you in because they are very open to questions and guidance, what they need to do, how they need to do it, how you guys need to do it for stuff that won't break the bank too. So they come and did some great footage of the Dead Factory. Dead Factory released the videos last year. But if you're interested in some of the work that they do, go to hauntingmedia.com. You can also go see what the deadfactory.com. There's a video over there as well of the video that they made for the Dead Factory. But in this episode, we teach you about how to get your scenes and characters ready for good photos and videos, and how you can do them yourself. So stay tuned and listen up. We want to thank everyone that came to the booth during the Trans World show. We got great feedback from you guys. Of course, we're always trying to change things up and add new badges each year for Scarab badges. And we have some great ideas we're going to implement for 2025 and 2026. We're already thinking about that too. So many ideas, not enough time. Well, let's roll into it. Our episode with Scott and Jewel Simonson from Haunting Media. So you are being recorded, whether you like it or not.
Oh no.
Okay, so let's start this off tonight. Tonight we have Haunting Media with Jewel and Scott. So if you guys have been around the industry for many years. I know I've seen you Trans World show. I think that's how we kind of met up, maybe, was Trans World.
Yeah.
And then you've been home haunters, you've been haunt owners, you're doing this Haunting Media thing, which is really cool. You've done some stuff with the Dead Factory and other haunted attractions in the United States. Promotional videos, pro photos. What other things does Haunted Media offer, your services?
Pretty much everything you would need for like your social media presence, like the photos, the videos. I don't know. We kind of have a divided line. He does mostly the photos and the videos and any of the tech stuff. And then I do anything like geared towards like social media and stuff, and help with like the editing videos and everything.
I mean, I guess technically if a haunt wanted custom video for like something in their haunt, we could do that. Green screen, actually technically not really green screen anymore, but you can use green screen. You just have to worry about the bleed over and stuff from the green screen. They got to be far enough in front of it. So basically we could, if they want a custom video for a frame of some kind or some kind of a prop or something, we could do that too. Anything that's video or audio related for sure.
For social media, or we can even do designs for t-shirts, logos, your tickets, flyers, anything, like any of the graphic design work, anything like that as well.
Sweet. Well, we do have people in the chat box, so we are good. We're going.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you guys got started in this haunt craziness.
So before I met Jewel, when I was growing up, I was in middle school / high school. I did a haunted graveyard in my parents' backyard. And it was very technical because since I'm a, technical type of person, I didn't rely so much on the traditional type of scares. So I actually built a little control panel out of cardboard with metallic toggle switches, about 110 volts running through this box. And I dug like a huge hole in the ground. My friend would hide in the hole and pop out of the grave. And I would basically control how quickly people went through the graveyard by turning lights on and off at different intervals. So they would start, they'd kind of walk forward. I'd turn the light off that was behind them. I'd turn that light off, and then I'd turn the next light on. I had props that I could activate with the switches. This is very technical. Did that for a few years. And then after I left, I joined the Navy. And I guess people are coming by asking about it when I no longer did it, obviously, because I moved out of my home. And then Jewel and I met in 2000. And I want to say it was
December of 2000.
The second Halloween we were together. Or
Yeah.
The second Halloween together. She's like, hey, let's decorate for Halloween. I was like, okay, cool. So she starts pulling out her Halloween decorations, and they were like the paper craft stuff from like middle school, the skeleton, that is him.
Mind you, I had young kids, so I was decorating for them.
So the cutesy spider with the frilly purple stuff, So I'm like, okay, do you want to do cutesy Halloween or cool Halloween? And she's like, well, how do you do cool Halloween? So we went to Lowe's, got the foam, the insulation foam, which of course out here we can get the really thick stuff. We made gravestones. Did like an Axorthy ghost around the yard. And then I think that second year you let me do a haunt in the garage.
Yeah, we cleaned out the garage.
So she let me use our 2-car garage for a haunt.
I mean, I was into it too because I have like a decorating and faux finishing background. So I'm like, decorating? I don't care if it's scary or romantic. It's decorating. I love it. It's artistic. It's creative.
So basically, I want to say it was 2003 was the first year we did the garage haunt.
Yeah.
And so that first year, I kind of got a late start. And so there wasn't a whole lot of decorating on the inside or detail. It was more of what I did with the graveyard, where I had lights throughout the haunt that I had on switches that I could control. I had cameras set up, but the actual control panel was actually, I'd take it out and put it out in the front every night when we'd let people in. But that second year in 2004, I actually put it in the garage in the corner, added a lot more stuff. I added locked doors, a bunch of different effects that could all be controlled by one person in the corner of the garage. Had it open for the whole month of October. So people could come by and I could turn everything on, and, it would take 7 minutes to go through. Even built my own searchlight, did that. And then ended up going to work at the Darkness for a couple of years, got bitten by the bug from doing that. And then we didn't actually do the haunt until 2015 was our first season.
Yeah. You worked for Larry for a couple of years.
Yeah, I worked for Larry for a couple of years. Did the Darkness. We did a haunt up in New York, Bayville. I took a week off of work to go up there for that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And then since we lost the building that we had the haunt in, we've been doing haunting media ever since to kind of get our fix of haunting stuff. Getting to see other haunts. It's kind of nice because when we had the haunt, it's hard seeing other people's haunts because you're open at the same time, unless you happen to be they're open a night that you're not. So since we lost the haunt, it's nice because you actually get to see other haunts for once instead of being stuck at ours. So,
but the photo and video stuff and everything is something that we had been talking about doing for a long time. But so we do it also for regular businesses, in quotation marks, do concerts and things like that with another company that we have doing the same thing. But for this, we decided to do this because of our love for the haunt industry and our love for doing the other stuff. And we figure what's the best way to combine it, So
yeah,
that's why we started the haunting media.
Well, let's look at it. I'm gonna blow this up.
Okay.
Guys, while we're talking about video, we want to kind of keep these topics. They have so much experience in haunted attractions and video and photo. So ask your questions. I'm actually monitoring the chat on Facebook and the chat on Zoom. If you have a Zoom link, as we go through some of these videos and photos, they have some of the haunt. They have some videos of videos they've done for other haunted attractions. I'm going to show you one right now with the Dead Factory. This is one of their promo videos. Dead Factory is here in Mexico, Missouri.
Everything, but there's never a dull moment. No, you don't know where you're gonna go through, how you're gonna get to the next room.
It was so dark.
It was so scary, so detailed. That was amazing.
And we were in the back, so we didn't know where we were going.
and all the sins they kept me from this day coming through. You damn child. Far beyond those of
Excellent video. Excellent video. I know the quality is probably not as good as when you'd see it on
Yeah, it was stuttering a little bit. I guess because you're playing it from your computer,
Yeah.
I'm guessing. Yeah.
I think Scarlet badges are one of the smartest things I've seen in the industry in a really long time. Scarlet badges are basically either pins or embroidered patches, kind of like merit badges, as they are, somewhat named after, from Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and Brownies, and where after you've accomplished something, you can wear the brag tag of the embroidered patch. Some haunts put them on jackets, some put them on t-shirts, some put them on, with the pins, I've seen them put them on lanyards. But the neat thing about them is they are very specific in what they are rewarding. And they're haunt-based images that reflect what's being rewarded. It's retention, it is bringing people back, and it's actually giving your haunters, your haunt performers, the ability to share that they are haunt performers. And, oh really, you're a scare actor. Where do you do that? And then they will insert the name of your haunt right there. So it's also marketing. I've always been a big fan of Scarlet badges. I think they're great. So check them out, scarletbadges.com. No, that is not a paid advertisement. That is just my recommendation. I think it's really cool.
ScottSwinson.com.
The main thing I like to concentrate on is also the audio. Like, I feel like, kind of like the haunt, you've got to have good set design in the haunt. You've got to have a good set. You definitely want to have sounds in your haunt, and then obviously smells. I can't do smells in video. I wish I could. But that trifecta of things. So like, I feel like everything matters, because if it doesn't, then it kind of takes away from the other things. So like, even any of the videos I do, I always want to make sure the sound is on point, that it, even adding the little sounds here and there doesn't seem like much, but it adds to the overall experience of it.
One of the questions was, can you point us in the right direction for the video thing we want to do? So what would you tell a haunt owner if you're coming in there, first time you're seeing the haunt? What are you telling the haunt owner? What kind of things what kind of guidance? Lighting, fog, actors, some good tips.
As far as for doing the video, or
for the video, yeah. Like if you're coming in to do the video, or if they want to set up video for themselves, what are some tips that you come in and say, well, we need to do this. I got to have this light over here. We got to do this.
So yeah, that's the biggest thing is going to be lighting is key. You're not typically going to you might use some of the lighting in your haunt, like if you're something in the background that's kind of lit up, but you're definitely going to want additional lighting. You want to light your subject or whatever it is you're filming, photographing, and then obviously you want to add other lights to kind of highlight certain things.
And the lights can also gather the mood of the feel that you want for that particular shot. You know, you want a lot of details. Texture really makes the video and the audio pop because the camera picks up more than what your naked eye can pick up. You want to make sure that your actors have good makeup, because especially since we're doing all 4K video and stuff, you want to make sure that, you know, your makeup's good. We prefer the actors have contacts. We want to make sure that you've got the blackout stuff for the mouth. So you don't want a actor that's all grungy and gross and, you know, cool costume, then their mouth and is, you know, their teeth are bright white, you know, that really throws it off. So sets, you want to make sure your costumes are good, your makeup's good.
If you're going to use any particular characters, you typically want to make sure that they're going to be there, at least on your more busy, on the busier nights, because people have that expectation of seeing that actor, that iconic person or character there.
Yeah.
But honestly, the biggest thing is lighting it. That's the most important thing. I mean, you could take a picture with just a single light and then take that same picture and add a couple more lights. And it's just, you can Google, there's tons of tutorials online, you know, as far as normal lighting. If you're lighting like an interview, or you want a hair light, you want a light on the subject, you want something in the background, that same kind of thing. It might be a little different with haunt related stuff, but that's really it. I mean, there's no real secrets. I mean, it's all information that's available online. Framing, you know, never, unless it's intentional and it's symmetrical and you want that as a creative choice, you never have your subjects centered. You always want them offset, rule of thirds. There's a thing called the golden rule. It looks like a spiral. And it's just certain things are pleasing to the eye when they're composed a certain way. Things like that you keep in mind.
But a lot of stuff can also be done in post-production.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
You can crop the images.
Yeah, so like in some of the pictures you're showing, obviously I've added things after the fact.
Grunge and detail. That photo is all about the way it's composed. It's a very wide angle lens, very close to the sledgehammer.
You can see the very top of the tent, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a creative choice, right? That's really, it's kind of like having a haunted house, right? You make a lot of creative choices and creative decisions that kind of shape your haunt. And photo and video is the exact same way. You're making these decisions of, how do I want to compose this? How does this look the best? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice because I feel like compared to other medium or other businesses, as far as with photography and video, like, you know, you can be creative with a wedding, but you can't, there's certain shots you would never do in a wedding like you would do with a haunt. So I feel like it gives you a little bit more flexibility. The lighting, obviously, you're not really going to have a ton of colored lights per se at a wedding like you would at a haunt.
Yeah, definitely doing video and photography for a haunt is a niche within itself, because that's something that most of the shots and stuff that we are going to get isn't going to be the same thing that a wedding photographer or
if you had a local photographer,
something like that's going to get.
Yeah, if you found a local photographer and had them come out and say, hey, you can take pictures of the haunt, they're going to approach it differently than say we would.
Yeah. Well, especially being haunt owners, previous haunt owners, like, we know what to look for as far as like the backgrounds and things like that, like what's going to look good, you know, pick up those details and stuff. Whereas, you know, a wedding photographer is going to come in there and go, okay, well, let's throw some flash photography over here. And it just doesn't work for the haunt industry. Almost kind of like in the film industry, you know, when they're doing their shots and everything, it's different than, again, a wedding photographer.
That shot in particular, if I remember correctly, is actually multiple shots combined together. So I've got a photo where the pill bottle is out of focus and she's in focus, and then I've got the reverse, and I basically combined them together so that way everything is in focus. Yeah. But if you saw the separate shots, it would look weird, because it looks cool because you can see the pill bottle, but then she's blurry. And so I was like, I can combine them. So I layered them together with a little bit of magic, and you have the end result of that photo. So yeah, it's just creative choices. You know, how do you want to pose the actor, and how does it not become repetitive? How do you keep it different? You know, and the main thing is you want people to go, oh, that's cool looking. You know, you want them to go, oh, maybe we should go check that place out. That looks really interesting. You know, that's the ultimate end goal. The end game is to get people to come out and cheer your haunt. So, I mean, the more you can show them, I mean, obviously you don't want to give them a complete tour of the haunt, because then why would they come out? But you definitely want to pique their interest.
That was one of our questions was, how do you get a cool video without giving too much away?
So this is something, a mistake that I made early on with our haunt was I was worried that if I show too much, people aren't going to come to the haunt. But you kind of have to get away from that because, for one, you're not going to show your whole haunt. The video would be too long, right? You're not doing a walkthrough. People they're still going to come and check it out. Like if you give them just the more, like I said, the more video, the more photos you can give them, the more they can see the detail, the effort that you put into it. That it's legit. It's not a fly by night, because there are some haunts historically in the past that'll come set up and it's a bunch of black walls. I mean, we went
at an old grocery store or something.
like we went to one years ago in St. Louis. That was literally black hallways. And then there was one scene you'd kind of come back to and had like a little slit in the wall. And like maybe one other scene and like a person above on a grate, but it was a bunch of fishing line. Like it was just
black walls,
so
that was it.
to put people's mind at ease that if they come out to your haunt, it's not going to be just black walls. The more stuff you can show them, the better. And obviously you want to show just stuff from your haunt, just your actors. You don't want to find some random Google images and post those, or stuff from other haunts, because we've seen that before too. Because that obviously rubs people the wrong way when they.
Well, because when you go to a haunt, the characters that you see, especially in your advertising and stuff, you expect to see those characters there.
Yeah.
So if you're using stock photos and stock video, then people are going to get there and they're going to be like, well, where's all these characters that we saw?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, if there's two ways of looking at it, if you're just about the money and you just want to get people in the door and pay a ticket price, okay. But then if you really truly care and you want people to come back and bring other people and talk about how good it was, you want to make sure that those characters that you're using are actually in your haunt. Those scenes that you're taking photos of and video of are actually in your haunt.
Yeah.
Do you know what causes haunted attractions to shut down before they even get started? The top 3 roadblocks are lack of funding, lack of leadership, lack of resources. As a member of the Haunters Toolbox, you get instant access to the tools you need to start and grow your own haunted attraction business. To get started, become a member at haunterstoolbox.com. What's doing editing, video, photo? What kind of programs do you use?
So I use DaVinci Resolve, which is free. They have a studio version, which adds some features. But I think for most people's use, you won't even really need that. It's completely free. There's tons of tutorials. I used to use Sony Vegas back in the day. Some people use Premiere. DaVinci Resolve was really good once you get the hang of it with doing any kind of color grading, which is another big thing, color correction for video. But yeah, DaVinci Resolve. I used to use Photoshop, but that whole thing with them sharing your data with AI learning, machine learning stuff, that turned a lot of people off. That is just expensive. Now I use Affinity Photo. It's a one-time price, and you're good. Kind of like how Photoshop used to be back in the day. And then I use different stuff for audio, sometimes Audacity. DaVinci has a really good audio section that toward it's broken up into tabs where it's like, cutting, editing. They have a tab called Fairlight that's audio, so you can even do your audio in DaVinci Resolve.
So they have like background tracks and stuff, because that was another question.
Yeah, you can add a bunch of tracks. I mean, it's set up like any editing program where your video clips are on the top half, your audio clips are on the bottom, but then you can go into Fairlight. And there's tons of free plugins where you can add different effects, echo effects. Like any of the echo stuff you heard in that one video, that was done with DaVinci Resolve. It's a good program. I'm trying to turn a lot of people onto it because, like I said, it's free. And so what's cool about free is you can try it, and if you can't get the hang of it or you don't like it, there's plenty of other programs out there.
Yeah.
But I mean, it can render. The free version can render in 4K. It doesn't do 6 or 8K, which I can't. I don't record in that anyway. But it can output in tons of different formats. You name it. I mean, it's and it's got a bunch of free built-in effects that would normally be additional in like Premiere. You have to download plugins from other companies. They're constantly updating it. which is included. Even in the paid version, you pay for it once, it's included. They keep adding more features, more things. They added a feature, that was a while ago, where it can cut out subjects in a video without even having to have green screen. You basically highlight the thing you want to focus on, and it can cut that out of the video for you, which is crazy, because back in the day, you had to do green screen, make sure there was enough separation so you didn't have the green light, the reflecting green screen on your character. It's great. I think that's pretty much.
Yeah, I use
you use Canva.
Well, I use Canva, but I also use Paint Shop Pro as well. I never could get into Photoshop. I started off with Paint Shop, so I can do anything in it. But I do use some Canva, just because, especially if I have a lot to do in a short period of time, it is easier because I have everything at my fingertips and I don't have to go digging through my computer for all my grunge and everything. But I have a YouTube channel separate from Haunting Media, and I use DaVinci as well. So for editing my videos,
I've got her using it now.
Yeah. So not gonna lie, it was a little intimidating at first, but once I got the hang of it,
it's like
doing
anything.
really good.
Yeah, it's like anything. Once you learn it, it's just it's easy.
When does that provide most of your sound effects and background music?
No,
so
for any music and sound effects, I use Envato Elements. There's other ones out there. What's another big one? Well, there's some music and audio I've collected over the years. Some other packs I've downloaded where you pay flat fee and you get unlimited downloads to all these different things. So some of that I've amassed. There's some filters, or not filters, like effects, like fog, smoke, sparks, a whole bunch I downloaded from this website. It was called BusyBox. It's no longer around. So thank goodness I downloaded everything, because you'd pay a fee and you could download whatever you needed. So normally you would just download what you need, and then, hey, I need to go download this. You'd look through all their Spark clips and, I want this Spark, and I download it. Well, I'm just going to download. It took a while. I'm going to download all these so I have them, and so I've got a mass of that stuff too. But a lot of it, there's Envato Elements is a good one. Storyblocks, I think, has the same stuff, but what's really cool is Envato Elements. Let's say I wanted a footstep sound, I could type in footsteps. You get all these audio clips, and I'll go through and listen to the ones, find the one I want. So that's the other side of it, is there's a lot of curating that goes on behind the scenes when I do a trailer or anything where I'm adding sound effects, besides finding the right type of music or maybe even creating the music, finding all these other sound effects. That takes time, I
was the same when I'm doing the reels and the stories and stuff like that. I have to find the right audio. I have to find the right sound effects. I have to, there's a lot that goes into it besides just throwing up some video and some, photos or whatever.
Yeah. And then it's a lot of creating a video, watching it, and going, and then sleeping on it. And the next day, or even a couple of days later, going back and looking at it and going, I don't know if I like that or not. So there's a lot of back and forth. And I'll ask her, hey, honey, what do you think? Because it's always good to have input from other people.
That's where we work together really well. Because like I said, he does the majority of the editing on the videos and stuff. But when he's having an issue or when he's, replaying it, I'll kind of pop my head around the corner and, say, hey, this needs a little bit of that, or why don't you try this, So we bounce ideas off of each other because we're both very creative. And a lot of times he'll be like, yeah, I didn't think about that. And he'll try it and it works,
That's the only thing that's difficult, unless you actually have a haunt, and you can go back and get shots that you missed, trying to get it all in one trip. You have to try to think ahead of time. What are all the shots I'm going to need? Because once everything's recorded, unless you're going back to the haunt to get some more footage, that's all you have to work with. So that's the one advantage of doing it yourself, is you can go back and get the footage, get the actor, say, hey, I need you to come back, put makeup back on. But we've done that before, where we've done the haunt for, done some shots, and then came back later after they opened and got some additional footage of people getting scared, or more actor footage that we couldn't get because the actor wasn't available that day. It's a long.
Or bring the drone out to get, footage of people standing outside.
I don't think people understand 12-hour, 18-hour, 16-hour days it can turn into. That's from our haunt.
Yeah, I was going to switch it up on you.
Yeah. So one of the so when we had the haunt, one of the things we like detail. We're very detail oriented. We like going to haunts that have a lot of detail, but things that people don't tend to think about. So that right there is a hallway that goes into a bathroom. You bust through the wall into a bathroom. Well, it's a public bathroom, right? It's supposed to be a public bathroom. Any public bathroom you've ever been to, there's only one door in and one door out. And so I'm like, how are you going to make it into a scene going into and out the same door? No. So we busted a hole into the wall into a stall. So you basically go into a stall, and that's how you enter the bathroom. And then you would go out the door of the bathroom. So just things like that we tried to think about. And obviously it wasn't that's not that bright in real life. I brightened it up so you could actually see the scenery, but it's much, much darker.
Yeah, we try to, like when we did our haunt, we didn't do blood and gore. We didn't do clowns. We didn't do chainsaws. For us, because we enjoy the details and stuff, that was our focus.
Yeah.
Like we wanted you to feel like somebody was actually there. Like somebody just left the room. Somebody's getting ready to come in the room. So, I would make sure that if there was the desk had papers all over it, there's coffee stains on the papers, there's diplomas on the walls. There's, we had a little, boiler hallway with, the pipes and everything running through it. And it literally took me like 4 days to go through and rust everything and make sure that, and even though you hardly saw any of it because it was so dimly lit in there, it didn't matter. The fact that those details were there, that all those pipes were all rusty and you could see the water running down and, the bolts were all rusty and everything. Like we wanted the details.
We built the haunt that we wanted to see, right? So that's the thing that people do is you build what you want to see, and so like that typewriter, we had a couple of old typewriters. She actually typed out some stuff on the typewriters. So if you took the time, there's actually things you can read. There's like all tons of Easter eggs that people probably never even noticed.
Yeah, so I actually wrote a story on, there was a couple of typewriters because there was also an office that had some typewriters and actually wrote stories, typed out stories on them and made the paper look all old and aged and everything.
And then every single scene we had, there was stereo speakers with like a little subwoofer. And so this is back when we had the home haunt. I was telling you earlier, we did the same kind of thing where each scene has speakers that were separated, and that allowed me to, again, we did custom audio tracks for every room, whether it was music and out of one and sound effects the other, or back and forth. It allows you to pan audio from one side to the other, so things can follow you across the room, almost like surround sound if you have home theater. So we're big into the sound. So obviously, besides lighting, sound was huge, and of course, obviously we did scents, but any of the scents we did in the haunt, it wasn't just random scents that we just, this smells like poop or pee. Let's make this smell like pee or vomit. It more was of things that would envelop you in the story. So we had this one scene that was like an old lady prop in like a wheelchair. And so there was a fireplace. We had a little fire going or whatever, obviously not a real fire. And it smelled like fireplace and old lady perfume in that room.
Yeah. The boiler hall smelled like a boiler room. Our freezer scene, we did the good humor guy, with his eyeballs scooped out. And so instead of I know everybody else does a meat, but we try to think outside the box. And so our freezer scene, we had like sweet smells of like chocolate and orange cream and vanilla and things that you would actually smell in an ice cream shop.
We did have a scene that leaned heavily on the movie Seven. It was the sloth scene, and it might be a picture of it in one of the pictures. But basically, it was a room. It was like wood paneling. We found this old fan that gotten wet, like ceiling fans. We mounted it. Obviously, it wasn't on, but it just had that nasty sagging look. And then we made a bunch of fake air fresheners, the pine tree air fresheners on a laser printer, red, yellow, and green. And it was like 500 or 600 of them.
Yeah, hand cut every single one.
Yeah, she cut them all out. Then she aged them in the oven, like made them look all nasty. We draped them across
and cinnamon
the room.
And everything. Yeah.
And then we built a guy in the bed that would pop up that was pneumatic, that was triggered by a step pad. And so every night before we open, I would spray some of the green trees in that room, just some of them, with that pine smell. The red I would spray with
the apple cinnamon, and then the yellow ones were vanilla.
Yeah, yellow ones were vanilla. I would spray some of the trees, and then the exhaust from the guy in the pop. There's the old lady scene. The guy in the pop-up bed, his exhaust for where that was at his feet. There was the exhaust was right there. You'd get this really nasty smell. So you enter that scene with all the trees hanging down, the air fresheners. You get all this overwhelming sweet smells and pine, and then as you go past the bed, it would trigger, and you get this nasty smell in at the base of the bed. People loved it.
This podcast episode Sponsored by Scarlet Badges.
We always were looking for ideas to get those actors to take it to the next level. I really want to do something that they can use more than just a meal, or they can use more than just a that a boy, that a girl. They love this stuff, but it's not really promoting a haunter. And then I sit down, Scarlet Badges comes out. That's when I realized this is amazing, because not only is it giving them an attaboy, but it's also promoting them all year round. And to promote somebody, to give somebody accolades all year round and have them be able to wear it on their shoulder with pride means a lot. This right here says this is who nailed it on this day in this year for the rest of their life, for the rest of their haunting life. And that's what I really love about this product, is you're able to give haunting to somebody an attaboy 365 days a year. And that's, so hats off to you guys. I think this is a great product, and I wish you the best of luck because it's awesome.
Get your Scare Badges at scarebadges.com.
But anyway, things like that. So there you can see the coffee stain she was talking about. That's like when you first go into the haunt. So even there, we had music playing, typewriter sounds, like think office kind of sounds. Everything was lit purposely. So like, we made our own pin spotlights, and we would aim at just the things we wanted you to see, to kind of to force your attention that way for scares, or because, so you could see the detail.
Which makes better photos and videos when you can actually see the scenes, right?
Yeah. So like even on our website, a lot of the pictures that we put up there had we had brightened them up so that you could see, but when you actually went through it, it wasn't as bright and colorful.
Someone was asking about that website again. Maybe where you get the Vital Elements? What was it?
Oh, Envato Elements.
Envato.
ENVATO. Yeah, Envato Elements, or Storyblocks. So I ended up looking at Storyblocks, and I would do a search on Storyblocks for like video clips or audio stuff, and it would come up with the same results. So I'm almost wondering if it's the same company. I think Envato Elements is a little bit cheaper per month. It's like $15 a month, I think. That's a good place. Yeah,
Envato they sell a lot of stuff for websites too, like plugins and themes, and
they have more than they've got a ton of different things. They've got plugins. They even got stuff for DaVinci Resolve. As a matter of fact, speaking of DaVinci Resolve, they have stuff for Premiere, besides photos and videos, sounds. They've got a bunch of stuff. Definitely worth its weight in gold. So that scene was I think that was our first year. The second year we ended up going back and redoing that scene. And I don't know if I have pictures of it or not. We actually covered the walls with sewing patterns, like those old McCall sewing patterns. We put them all over the wall. We stained it, and then we clear coated it. Ended up moving some of the mannequins around. I don't know if we had the animated one. We added an animated one that would fall down. Yeah, I took a wiper motor. I took a wiper motor and had one that would tip forward as you walk past.
Because we had an old sewing machine table with this old sewing machine on it, and the mannequin would drop down. So it wouldn't actually come out at you. It would basically fall towards the table.
We were constantly going back. Besides adding on to the haunt and making it longer each year, we were going back and adding stuff to the scenes.
More details.
People stuff we never got to finish. People have no idea that you were going to add. It's like, oh my gosh, this room isn't done. This doesn't look right, or it's missing. People don't even notice. We notice, but we'd go back and change things that didn't work. A particular scene didn't get the right kind of scares. We'd rearrange it. Everything was placed purposely. Like you go through it, people that obviously aren't in the industry think of it as you're just walking around this stuff, but we're purposely placing furniture to force you close to this scare or force you over to here. And, everything's done with purpose.
Yeah, we'd actually make you walk around the room, not just through the room. For one, it lengthens it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we also, between each scene, we would put curtains. For one, it would help with the sound, to keep the sound in each room. For two, it helped the scents, because since we had scents pretty much in all the rooms.
Yeah, it would kind of keep them contained.
Yeah. But it also slows people down a little bit, because they kind of got to fight through the curtains,
That thing laying on the table, I added a motor to his chest, so his chest would actually heave up and down.
Like he was breathing?
Yeah, we had an actor in there. Those things on the thing, those were just UV LEDs, and we put, was it highlighter stuff in the water?
Yeah, I put a bunch of water in all the beakers and jars and stuff, and then got a whole bunch of highlighters from Dollar Tree, and pulled the cartridge out and just stuck them in the water. and then the water would pull all the highlighter out.
Yeah.
And then I pulled the cartridges out, and then the UV light underneath the shelf that I made would light them up. But that
Yes.
whole room, it's funny because we did a lot of going to the Goodwill where you buy everything by the pound for the haunt. And that entire room, that lab scene, was because I found an old book. It was like a handwritten, like a binder type book. And it was actually from like the 1930s.
Oh yeah.
And it was somebody writing their notes in medical school.
Yeah.
And so having that actual book was what sparked the idea for the whole lab room.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, getting inspiration from things that we would find at Goodwill or
Yard sales
or
estate sales. So that's why I said we're very much into the details, because those are all old medical books.
Yeah, that's
that we
when
found.
When you talk about building a haunt, you talk about expenses. How much does it cost to build a haunt? The one thing that doesn't really cost anything, obviously, is your time. But I mean, taking the time to do things, taking an extra couple of minutes to add some detail, like age something so it doesn't look brand new. Things like that don't really cost anything, add a ton of value to your haunt, a bunch of detail, or, it just adds, it doesn't really take a lot of money to do that. It just takes time. That's things that we basically paid for the haunt ourselves, put everything on credit cards, like it forces you to be creative in a lot of different aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
Some things obviously you can't, we had to buy fog machines. I'm not going to make my own fog machines. But we made our own pin spots for pennies on the dollar, literally pennies on the dollar. Anywhere that we could save money, we did, because there's certain, you're going for a particular look. You can do certain things to suggest a certain look without having to have a lot of the detail, but you still want to have some things that kind of anchor the scene and kind of sell the story. It makes you feel like you're part of it, like you're part of the story. Like like she was saying earlier, ton of people would say it felt like every scene they walked into, it felt like somebody had just left the room or somebody was just about to walk in. And that's the kind of thing that we wanted. We wanted, like, in the way that I see it, and I'm sure she agrees, when you build a haunt and you decorate the haunt and the sets and everything, you want it to be like, without any actors, you want it to be scary. You want it to be like, should I be in here by myself? I mean,
you want the tension there.
Yeah. You want to build up that tension. Even when we were working on it, I would be working on a section, I'd turn, and she'd be doing decorating one of the things, and I was working on the lighting. And so I turned off the lights for just a brief amount of time. She's like, honey, did you turn the lights off?
Yeah, because the sound was running and I'm in this pitch black room, and he turns the lights out and I'm like screaming at the top of my lungs, but because the sound was on, he couldn't hear me. And I was like, it freaked me out. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if I built it and it freaks me out, it's going to freak other people out.
Yeah. That was the biggest thing. Like, obviously you want actors but they should complement the scene or add to it. They shouldn't rely on that scene. Like, you know what I mean? It's almost like, because the idea being is, unless you have a ton of actors and they're going to be dedicated to a scene, you're probably going to have actors like we did that would bounce back and forth between scenes. So you're going to have people come through, and they may come through a scene and that actor's not in that room at that moment. And if that's the only thing that's holding up that room, then they're going to go through that room and they're like, what was the point of that? So you want kind of everything to hold its own. Each room should kind of, stand on its own. So if the actor isn't in the room at that moment, it still works.
It's still scary.
And some people put like a little in each room, either a sound effect or a light or something. That way, if the actor's not there, at least they're getting something.
Yeah.
Like the body moving, like the chest was moving. That'd be shoot, just enough.
So like we had this detective scene, and you remember, like, on TV shows and detective shows, they would have like the wall with like the suspects, and they have the yarn going from the suspect to this arm. So we did that, but in the entire room. So we actually had yarn going across the room that you'd have to walk through, almost like a spider web.
That room took me forever.
Yeah, it took her forever. It looked really cool.
Because the walls, I found like a bunch of old magazines and like National Enquirers and newspapers and stuff. And I literally was cutting out all these pictures and articles and printing off like tons of pictures off the internet and making them look old and everything. And so all the walls were just plastered with pictures. And then from all the pictures, I just literally had just this red yarn. I actually went to the store and I was like doing the strength test to make sure it wouldn't get broken, because it would just go from this wall to that wall to this wall to that wall. And there were areas where people actually had to kind of duck, to get underneath the string, and people would walk in there and they'd be like, oh my gosh, because it was just a maze of red string everywhere.
Shoot.
Yeah. So like so when we were trying to come up with the logo, I was in Photoshop and I'm just like, it's not coming together. And I don't remember how we decided to try to build the logo.
I thought it would be best, in my personal opinion, to build the sign as our logo and then take a picture of it.
Yeah.
And then,
So that's why it's supposed to look like it used to say, you can't really tell in the picture, but it has the outline along the top where it says shoe, or it used to say shoe factory. So it has the little standoffs that the letters would have been mounted to. You can kind of see a silhouette of them. You can't really see with that light shining on it. And then factory, and then obviously the Y is, tipped, and then horror and everything. It's supposed to look like it's cobbled together, like it was kind of put together. So like the was supposed to look like neon, which I later changed it to some better LED letters that look like neon. And then the horror, those were all letters we got from Joann's or Michael's that were just like a solid red color or like a green, and we ended up aging them, changing the colors of some of the LEDs. So they were warmer white, cooler white. Some of them were burned out. Some of them were kind of flickering.
And then he cut out the factory letters, or actually just the blue foam.
Yeah.
He cut them out for me, and then I made them look like old rusty metal letters.
And I backlit them with the RGB strips so we could actually change the color if we wanted to. But it was kind of twofold. So obviously this is the outside of the building. When you're waiting to go in, there's the entrance and the exit. But the ticket booth was over to the right in the picture. And so the idea being is people are coming up, they're not sure they want to go through. They see the sign. That's the logo. So we put effort into the sign. So certainly if we were trying to pull a fast one and it was just a bunch of black walls, we would have just had a banner that we did in Photoshop that said that has the logo, like a lot of people do. I'm not saying that's bad. Not saying that's bad. I'm not knocking it. But that was one of the reasons why we did that, because it kind of it's like, okay, this is legit. This is, like a real thing. It's not just Well,
because there was also, on the way to our haunt, there was another haunt that had been there like a year or two before we put the haunt in, or our haunt in. And we'll just say it wasn't the best haunt. It was a lot of like Walmart stuff.
Yeah.
And
Black
so
plastic.
People would go to their haunt first because it was on the way to ours. And I think the other people were charging like $13 or something. And then they would come up to our haunt, and our haunt was, $20-25. And they're like, well, we just paid $13 to go through, whatever up there. Why am I going to pay to go to yours? Especially it's more expensive. And so I would tell them, go through it. If you want your money back, I'll give you your money back. But just seeing the fact that we took the time to actually make a sign, I think kind of helped a little bit, because I think, it kind of gave them the idea that, as they're waiting in line.
The other thing that's a little different, and part of it was the way the building was set up. There's a garage door behind those two doors. And so when we would close up at night, we would just close that garage door, and then you couldn't get into either one of the doors. So in order to have them exit, it worked out the best that they exit right there to the left of the entrance. But a side effect of that, or a benefit of that, was people that were waiting in line would see people coming out and having, they're coming out having a good time, laughing, which once again would kind of reiterate or sell the fact that, if you're not sure and you're in lines buying tickets, you're like, I don't know if there's any good. And you see people coming out. Well, they're having a good time. It must be pretty good. A lot of haunts will dump people out the back, not necessarily because it's on purpose, but you don't get to see those people when they come out of the haunt. They go out the back and they go to their car, and you never get to see their reaction. So I felt like that kind of benefited us too in a lot of ways. But once again, it was more.
Plus, I was in the ticket booth, so I could talk to people on the way in.
Yeah.
And then I had a little side window that I can open up to talk to people on the way out.
Yeah.
So I could gauge their feedback and everything. And,
she'd be like, make sure you leave us a review, please, like all these different things that to kind of engage people's, reactions to get them to leave reviews. Cause especially that first season, anybody that's ever done a haunt, I'm sure you know this, that first season is the hardest season because you don't exist until you create it.
Yeah.
And so
you don't know what's coming in the parking lot.
Yeah,
you don't know if
you
you're
don't
getting
have
5
reviews.
cars or 100 cars.
Yeah.
You're like,
you don't have any reviews because nobody's gone through it. And even like and a lot of people don't know this, and this is something that we had to figure out after how many months, But in order to get verified as a business on Google, you put in your business information, the address of your haunt, and then they send you a postcard with a verification code. You get the postcard, you put the verification code in, boom, look at that, you're in Google Business, right? We did that early on. I sent the filled out the thing, and it says, okay, postcard is on its way. We put up a mailbox, at the address to make sure, hey, we got a mailbox. Nothing. What is going on? I do it again. And then finally, I don't know how I stumbled upon it, or if I figured something out or whatever, but what happens, the Google does not tell you this. When you fill that information out for our hours of operation, because we weren't open yet, because it was spring, summertime, I put closed every day of the week. Well, if you're closed every day of the week, they will not send you a postcard. They won't tell you they're not going to send you a postcard. It just says, oh, postcard's on its way. As soon as I put like Tuesday at like from 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. something. I don't remember what I put. Boom, we got a postcard like right away.
Yeah, because we even tried calling.
Yeah, we even tried
and
calling.
They're like, well, we don't know. Try it again.
Yeah, they're like,
even the people that work there didn't even know.
They're like, you can even have a thing where you can send photos of your business on the inside. I'm like, well, how's that going to work? We're still building the haunt, and that's all it was. It's because when we filled out the information, they looked at our business page that we had set up, and well, they're closed every day of the week. And it's like, well, yeah, because we're still building. We're not a traditional business. We're not an ice cream store that's open Monday through Friday. We're only open in October. So once I did that, I realized that's what it was. And then even when in the off season, I would change it back to whatever day of the week from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. or something, because I didn't want to put closed every day of the week because that, screws everything up. But anyway.
Yeah, I'd rather them. I know when someone searches your haunt, Google pops up first, then Facebook, but I always like Google reviews because I've always told it boosts your listing higher. And it also looks good on Google if you have 55 Google reviews or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah. The more reviews you have, obviously, the better. Same thing with Facebook, anywhere. So like I've been to haunts where I go to like their Facebook page and they've got 10,000 followers. Where's their reviews tab? Why aren't there any reviews?
Yeah.
I can't find reviews anywhere. Is that intentional?
Social proof? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's that right there. It's kind of like not having pictures in my mind. It's like, well, what are you trying to hide? Because we didn't have perfect reviews. We had 1-star reviews. We had a couple. It's this group that came through, and one of the guys in the group was kicking every door he would come across. So like we had doors throughout the haunt that were somewhere for exit for like the fire escape or whatever, or clearly marked fire exit or exit only. And actors would, run around throughout the haunt, go from scene to scene. And so they'd like to kind of open the door a little bit and kind of see when people were coming to kind of, hey, another group's coming to get ready, for the scare. And this guy kicked the door and hit a couple of actors with the door. So
and then he knocked down one of our actors.
Yeah,
and
knocked down one of our actors. So then we got security involved, and they went through the whole thing. Security said something to him, and so they left us this review. Haunt was great, blah 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 blah. But Mr. Security Guard, blah, 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 said that we did this, this, and this. And, stuff like that's unavoidable.
So what do you do in that situation? Do you for your experience, come back?
So I replied. I don't remember exactly what we put. So there's proper ways of doing it to where you can still sound professional without coming across going, you're an idiot or, you're at fault. I don't remember exactly. I'm sure it's still up there.
Yeah.
That's what I always do, Or someone said it's too scary. You scared my 12-year-old. I'm like, that's sorry for your bad experience.
There's ways you can spin it and it comes across as clever without being condescending or rude to that person. Like there was a lady that came through with her mother and she had a little hover around, and so the entire haunt you could go through. There weren't any things you had to step over, and so she is one of the things she left in the review was perfect space for my mom. She loved it. There's all these little things that, we
had a couple of actors that didn't show up.
Yeah.
Or would show up 15 minutes before we closed and expect to get paid for the whole night.
Yeah.
And so when we finally told them that their services were no longer needed, they left some 1-star reviews, things like that. But for the most part, everybody that went through had a good time.
Yeah.
Going back to, for Tyler Barnett says, wait, what's going on?
I'm never going to live that down.
No, you won't. If anybody knows Scott, you might follow Scott on Facebook. You'll understand what that means. Stephen was about increasing advertising reach. This haunt's about an hour from a major city. Suggestion.
So that's the kind of the thing that we ran into, because we were about
Out
an
in the middle
hour,
of nowhere.
kind of an hour from St. Louis. In our particular case, the thing that I think was kind of against us was you've got Interstate 44 and Interstate 70 that go west of St. Louis, kind of forms like a Y shape. We were in between, out in Berger, Missouri, which I'd never ever heard of. It's next to Herman, Missouri, which has Oktoberfest. We did capitalize on that. But so for us, that was the hard part. We had people that were like, oh, we love the drive in. It's kind of spooky, 2-lane at night. But I feel like that was probably one of the things that kept us from getting, the amount of people we're expecting to get. I think if we would have stayed at that location, I think eventually we would have gotten there. That's the hardest thing.
The main thing, everybody's on social media. The main thing is make sure you are posting. Post.
Yes.
Post.
Yes.
Post pictures of an actor with somebody that came through the haunt. Just constantly be posting on your Facebook stuff, on your Instagram. Do some TikToks, do some reels, do some shorts, even if it's just somebody asking people as they come out of the haunt, hey, can I talk to you? Did you have a good time? Anything. The biggest thing is just post, because the more you post, the more engagement you're going to get. The more engagement you get, the more people you're going to have interested in coming to your haunt.
Yeah. I mean, you've got companies like Fearworm that are really good at capturing, some of that audience. Besides doing stuff yourself, you can use other sources. Go to the problem is if you choose to go down the path of doing it yourself, it's going to take a lot of reading, it takes a lot of time, learn, SEO things there's just so much stuff out there, and it's constantly evolving, constantly changing. You mentioned Tyler could tell you about it, I'm sure. So there's certain things that it's probably beneficial to go with a company that does that all the time. The problem is, I feel like there's a barrier of entry. When you're a smaller haunt, you don't have the biggest budget, and you have to figure out the best way to spend literally every single dime. And so I think so that was actually from my Halloween party, which is how it started, that whole character from
House on Haunted
Hill, Dr. Vandekut. That was one of the years we went for Halloween. This is before the haunt, a couple years before we did the haunt, which turned into a character I did in the haunt, obviously. But anyway, when it comes to advertising, obviously, if you've got other haunts you're competing with that are much larger, it's going to be difficult because you're spending against them. So for every, $5 you're spending to get, let's say, one customer, they're spending $1. Like, your money's not going to go as far. And at least for us, especially, once again, going back to that first season, you have to hustle. I've never been a big sales guy, but you literally have to sell it. You have to hustle. You have to go from place to place, business to business, and go, hey, can I put these flyers up in exchange for tickets? Or, that's the one thing. Tickets don't really cost you anything. Right. You're already going to be open these set nights. You've already decided. You've already got people coming. Tickets don't really cost you anything. So if you can exchange tickets for promo stuff, that's huge.
So like we worked with Texas Roadhouse,
Johnny
Brock's Dungeon, which here locally is like a huge Halloween costume, party supply, makeup supply company.
Fuzzy's Tacos.
Like, go to your local businesses. Say, hey, if I give you, 10 tickets, will you hand out flyers for me?
Or even offer to put up a banner at your haunt for that business. That's obviously
do banner exchanges. That was one of the things that we did.
That's been around for a long time. Haunt's been doing that for a long time.
Texas Roadhouse, we put a banner on the side of our building, and then Texas Roadhouse in return took our banner and hung it up inside their building.
And they handed out coupons and stuff.
And Johnny Brock's the same thing.
Yeah.
We did a banner exchange.
If there's any fairs, like if you have any local fairs, set up a booth. We did that for 2 years we did. We did photo ops with some of our actors, got a huge response. People would take photos of them for free, and they would tag themselves and that help promote the haunt. We sold t-shirts for the haunt, tickets for the haunt. Like, there's so many things you can do not related to online. Yes, online is huge. It's going to get continually more online. It's going to,
you can even do things like we also did like food bank drives.
Yeah.
So work with your local community. Even if it's a small community, there's still people that have a need. And if you can help them, they're going to spread the word. So we did Make-A-Wish nights. We did donations to Make-A-Wish. We did food bank drives. So, people would bring in canned goods. They would get, a couple bucks off their ticket, which you're giving back to the community.
Yeah.
And that says a lot too, because your community is going to remember that.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of ways. Gas stations. We, instead of doing flyers, we did business cards. We would, because they're smaller, easier to work with. So we would go around all the businesses and just put out, say, hey, can we put a stack of our business cards up? Which, is guerrilla marketing, but it works. Yeah. I can't tell you how many people brought those cards in to us because we had like $2 off the price of your ticket or something on them.
Yeah.
So we would get tons of those cards back. So it means it works.
Well, the other thing too is kind of knowing your demographic, that's just going to take some research on your part as far as, perimeter wise, let's say an hour perimeter from your haunt, the demographic, the average household income. Because the other thing you got to be careful of is you could overprice your market. You make your tickets too high. People aren't going to show up because they can't afford it. Especially, nowadays, if the economy's not doing that great.
There's the detective room.
Yeah, there's a detective room.
All the string and everything.
If the economy's not doing that great, it's hard to get people to spend the money, so that's the other thing, is figuring that out. And then for some reason, we got more adults than like teenagers.
I think it's just because of our market.
Yeah, I think that's how it is out here. And maybe it's because of the drive, because it was a little bit more of a drive.
And some of the rural areas, it kind of seems to be more adults than like teenagers and kids.
Yeah. And then after that first season, that second season, we had a bunch of random people from other states that came out just to the haunt, which you get that, so that's kind of cool. We drove from Kansas City, from the ones out there, or from Tennessee. I don't even remember all the places people came from.
Yeah, Wisconsin, all over the place.
But it's cool because it kind of validates, all the hard work. And, because at the end of the day, it's a business, you got to make money to keep going. But my biggest enjoyment personally is the people coming out, having a good time, laughing. And, that's it's like anything. It's like a high. It's like a natural high that you get. And there's no other way to really get it besides, I've secretly wanted to become, since I was a kid, I wanted to be an Imagineer for Disney. I've always wanted to be an Imagineer. I just never pursued the proper path to get to that point. So for me personally, the haunt was a way of creatively trying things I wouldn't be able to try in any other situation, So like there was a scene we had, I first got the idea from Kip with his haunt with Raven's Curse, which inadvertently we ended up opening haunts the same year, didn't even know until we were both almost done with them. But he had this scene where it was like a dining room scene with a giant framed mirror. And as you walk past this mirror, you realize, oh, it's not a mirror, it's a big cutout in the wall. And he built an identical scene next to it and just framed a cutout, and very, very convincing. So we're like, oh, we should do something like that. But we didn't have the space to dedicate an entire area for a duplicate scene without somebody being able to go through it. So we built a hallway, and it might be in the pictures. I don't know if it is or not. But we basically had a hallway with a runner and a mirror with like a half table with little tchotchkes on it, a little chandelier. And as you walk down the hall, under the runner, there was a step pad, and those lights just in that hallway were on their own separate controller. And when you stepped on the step pad, as you're walking in front of the mirror, the lights would go out. And I think it was I had it set for like 2 seconds. And the 2 seconds, it goes completely black. And then the lights come back up, and we had an actor now standing in front of the mirror, or what they thought was a mirror. And you could see people's reactions like, whoa, that's not a mirror. And of course, they're putting their hand through it and everything. Well, then the lights would go back out again for another 2 seconds, and then the actor would run off. Lights would come back up, and the actor's gone. So they'd walk down the hall, and they'd come up the other side of the hallway. So instead of wasting that space, we used both sides. So of course, they come up the other side. Everything's identical, except for backwards. But even the pin spot lights, I had to aim them exactly the same on the wall. Like everything had to line up.
We had to make sure all the pictures were in the identical space.
And then as they would go past the mirror the second time, they're expecting an actor again to pop up in front of the mirror. So they're naturally drawn toward that back wall where their back is. Well, guess what's right there? A picture, and it's a drop panel. And so it would get them every time because their back's against the wall. The actor that was just there a second ago would run down the hall out an outer door and basically be on the other side of that drop panel. They would do the drop panel and they would scare them. These are just pictures I was taking. I don't think I posted all these pictures on the website. They were just some creative stuff I was taking. But anyway, it's just one of those things where kind of the little gags, almost like Disney does. We had a room that was upside down where we built the room, aged the walls. So they naturally dripped, downward and then flipped the walls upside down. Had a chandelier coming out of the floor, had a table on the ceiling with a tablecloth that was, stuck in place. Even did so in that upside down room, up until that point throughout the haunt, your pin spot clusters are up in corners, up in the upper edge of the ceiling. And that scene, I had them on the floor aimed up and like you're walking on the ceiling. So we had slats in the corners, like you're walking on the ceiling. Anyway, just different things.
What is, as far as camera wise, you think iPhones are good enough just for people starting out? What kind of cameras do you recommend and what do you use?
Yeah, so iPhones have gotten a lot better, especially some of the newer ones. The main thing you're going to run into when you talk about phones is going to be that you cannot do without a traditional camera is going to be focal length on cameras. So you can fake. So what people like about photos typically is that they call it bokeh, where basically the subject is in focus, the background's kind of blurry. And then if there's any lighting, you get little globs of light. It looks really cool, right? You can't really do that with an iPhone. You can fake it. Like it does it in software now. Like you can, but it's not quite the same. That's something that's physically done with the way that lenses are set up or the way that lenses work that you can't really truly duplicate with a phone. The other good thing is going to be sensitivity to dark environments. So ideally with a camera, you can go into completely black and just have a candle and that should be enough light to see what you need to see. The problem is depending upon the camera, the phone or whatever, you're not going to see very much. And if you try to correct it in post, or try to adjust the camera itself, it becomes very grainy. So when you turn up the sensitivity on any sensor, whether it's a phone camera sensor or a camera sensor, DSLR, you turn up the sensitivity to increase its sensitivity to light. So if you have a darker scene, you can pick up the light. The problem is it gets very grainy very quickly. So that's going to be the trade-off. So yeah, you can absolutely use a phone. And it's all about composition. Obviously some lighting, and there's no reason why you couldn't use a phone. People do it all the time. It's like I said, it's going to be without actually, I should have done some examples where I took a picture with my phone and taken a picture with the camera.
Well, the other thing is you can't swap out lenses. So you can't like do wide shots or fisheye shots or things like that.
Some of the iPhones do have additional lenses. You've got your 3 or 4 lenses that uses one of those other lenses to get like a wider shot. But once again, it's still the other thing which goes back to sensitivity is the speed of a lens. What they call the speed, it's basically the aperture. So in order for the sensor to see more light, you want a really fast lens that has a really big aperture. The lower the number, the bigger the aperture is. So just to show you, to give you an idea of how expensive having real photography equipment can be, I've got one single lens that's like $1,500. It's over $1,000. And the reason it's so much is, for one, all the glass, but it's because it opens up to 1.4. So it lets a lot of light in, which is very, very critical. If you want to take any kind of, dark pictures or photo or video, you want to have a nice wide aperture because it lets a lot of light in. Now, granted, you can get around that by lighting the scenes more. So that's the trade-off, is you just have to light your scenes more. You can always darken it in post, the photos or the videos. You can always darken it, but and not really lose a lot of quality. But to do the reverse, you lose a lot of quality. So yeah, I mean, for somebody like me, obviously, I've got a lot of money invested between the camera body and multiple lenses and all the lighting and all the stuff we've acquired. The drone, we got a 4K drone. There's all these things combined. It ends up being a lot of money. So, I mean, if you're just starting off and you can't afford someone like us to come out and take photos and video, do something,
Anything's better than nothing.
Anything's better than nothing. But for the love of God, don't just do a white light. Don't do flash. Give it some depth. And even if you only get a couple of lights like these wand, we we've got a couple of these little wand lights. You can change color. They can do warm white, cool white. Just adding different lighting to different things can change the mood.
It's called a wand light.
The what? Yeah, it's like a wand light. There's different makers and manufacturers. I've got little puck ones like this that can change color. They're battery powered. Just a couple of things, even because you basically want to layer it. You don't want the picture to be flat. So like if you just took a single light and lit a subject from the front, the background and everything, well, just imagine being in your house and in your living room, taking a picture in your living room. The picture is going to be very flat. You might have a little bit of depth because there's other lights in the room if you have a lamp on the table, but it's not going to be very interesting. You want it to be interesting. So if you're going to light an actor, light the background separately and the actor separately, and maybe even do a little bit of color in the background, or maybe leave a little bit of color on the actor, there's different ways you just have to experiment. You literally just have to sit there and play and try different things. And I mean, there's been times when I'll have an idea for a haunt. We go and we shoot footage or we take photos aimed toward that idea. And then we get the photos and start looking at the photos. It's like, wait a minute, I could do this or I could do that. So there's a lot of inspiration after the fact too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, do something. If you've got a phone that takes decent photos, everybody's got iPhones now or Androids that now have, good cameras that have multiple lenses, multiple focal lengths. Take pictures. Like, I don't know. I mean, there's really not a whole lot to it. There's plenty of tutorials on composition, framing, rule of thirds.
But then there's also like, I can visualize what I want to capture, like in a photo or a video shot, but for some reason I just can't do it. So I'll tell him what I want and he can capture it. So sometimes it's just about having that eye, that creativity, so there's a lot of that too. And that's something that evolves, over time of doing more and more and more.
Yeah.
And if you're not the one who can do it, find somebody in the haunt that can do it, because there's a lot of teenagers or younger people that or people that have experience with photo or the creative eye that you can just hand off to. So here, just go through the haunt.
I don't know.
We've actually done that.
Yeah, I know when I was in high school, photography was always a big class that everybody took. I did not. I wish I would have. I don't know if they do photography classes anymore, like in high school and stuff.
I'm sure they do.
I know back in the 90s or 2000s, a long time ago.
I don't know. That was a long time ago when I was in high school.
Well, we've talked about video stuff, photos, your haunt. Another one of the things we're going to cover was scare actor retention. So what are some things that you guys kept your scare actors? How'd you keep them around?
I think one of the biggest things is just taking care of them. Like when we had our haunt, I made home cooked meals every night that we were open for them. For one, it's way cheaper than trying to feed 40 people, pizza. So we literally got 2 huge pots, like, big soup pots from like Costco or something. And I would make chili or spaghetti or whatever every night that we were open. Also do stuff for them in the off season.
Yeah, we did that a lot.
Every month we would, have a movie night or a barbecue, or trips. We would take them on float trips, just things that you would normally do with your family.
Yeah.
Do that type of stuff with your actors because they will appreciate that. Everybody becomes close. The drama kind of goes out the door because everybody becomes close and becomes a family rather than you've got this person over here and that person over there. And, and just be kind, if there's one girl that didn't have parents and it was her 21st birthday and we felt bad. So we threw a 21st birthday party for her, she loves sharks. So we did a shark theme, just little things like that, it costs you a little bit of money, but what you get in return is,
and then even in the haunt, giving them some creativity. So obviously we had certain things, certain looks we were going for in certain scenes, but we allowed them to have some input, character creation, make the character kind of become their own character. So they take ownership. And then not just locking them down to a certain thing, giving them a little bit of range to try different scenes or to like, I don't know. So one of the worst, like back when I was working at the Darkness, I was also an actor too. And it's great scaring people, but being stuck in this little bitty spot for 6 hours or however long you're open, it gets old pretty quick, And so you want to be able to mix it up a little bit. So like I said, all the actors we had, they would roam around. They had, people were like, how did this actor get from here to here? And because they didn't see all behind the scene, all the little back hallways we had, that would help, get them point A to point B. That, and like I said, just treating them like family.
Well, because that's what we're very family oriented. And so for us, that's what we wanted. We wanted a family atmosphere.
Yeah.
So, that's why the home cooked meals and making sure we had, waters and stuff. We had coolers like in the easements and stuff that had waters and drinks and stuff for them.
Yeah.
Because they're running around sweating their butts off, and just, like in the summertime, they always knew that we were working on the haunt and we wouldn't have time to cut grass. And they would literally be like, hey, your grass is getting long. We're going to come cut your grass for you, Yeah.
Even now, they're like,
we're still close to.
Yeah. They're like, whenever you guys open up again, let us know. We'll be there. They keep waiting, for us to find a new location. And it's just, I think it's just, if you're a good person and you treat people right, I mean, like anything,
they'll respect you more and, be willing to do more for you.
We're going to show one more video of Haunting Media. I think this might be your promo trailer.
Okay.
Sign me up. Make me a video.
You said make you a video?
Yeah, make me a video. Actually, for scare badges, I'm looking for something different, but we'll talk after that.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that's one of the things that, once again, this kind of goes back to the whole haunt industry, is there's so many different ways you can approach a haunt as far as promotional stuff. If you have a story, we can help develop the story. Like there's so many different ways to cut it. You can make it look like it's a movie and have a short movie. I think there was one that Bart and Michael did when they had the Haunt House years ago, the trailer that they did. And it was almost like a story. It starts off, they're all normal people. There's music and stuff in the background. And then it shifts over to them all in characters. I remember if you remember that or not.
Yeah.
But I loved it because it was different, right? So that's the one thing with the haunt industry stuff. Any stuff with the haunt, there's so many different angles you can approach it. It's unlimited. It's really just whatever the haunt, whatever you can think of. If you have a story, we can help you come up with a story. If you have a story already, we can cater to that story. Like there's tons of different ideas. So normally what we'll do is we'll go in the day before, night before, or whatever, depending upon where it's at, and just go through the haunt with the customer and go, hey, you have any ideas? If not, hey, just to get an overall view and
look at the costumes.
Look at the costumes
of the main characters.
Look at the main characters and kind of get ideas. And then it's literally a long, long day of, actor after actor after actor setting up a scene to, there's a lot involved just to shoot one scene. We spend so much time setting the lights up, getting the angles, figuring out all the angles. Okay, now we're ready for the actor. And then we got to take multiple takes. Try this, that doesn't work. Try this, that doesn't work. And there's a lot, which is why it ends up being the days are just so long, and it's unavoidable. I mean, if you want to get any amount of footage, it takes a long time.
Well, because you spend a lot of time with each actor, making sure you're getting enough footage and enough shots
to cover everything.
Cover everything, because you have to look at it, besides doing the promo videos, you've also got to do reels, you've got to do photos for your social media, you got to do, the video or the photos for any kind of flyers or business cards, or, you got to think ahead of what all you're going to need and make sure that you have your ducks in a row, that you get everything while you're there.
Yeah.
And sometimes things, you got to do, somebody's makeup starting to melt off and you got to go touch up makeup. So then you're kind of in a holding pattern, or, things always happen. So you got to make sure that you allow for enough time for each actor.
Or if you have a bigger haunt, it takes multiple people. So there was a couple haunts we did thanks to Fearworm. And then Jake with Raven Realm Media and Tom with Slash Visuals. I guess even Justin from Midnight Terror, going to other haunts with them and all collaborating together to come up with really good ideas and bouncing ideas off each other. And so there's a couple haunts we were lucky enough to get footage from just by, thanks to Fearworm. So there's a lot of stuff that when it comes to creative things you can do that you would, like I said, in any other situation you wouldn't be able to do. Like a commercial for a cookie store, a cookie shop. Yeah, there's some creativity involved. But I think the haunt industry is just so unique because of the, like a haunt's very unique. You should capitalize on that fact.
Each haunt is unique.
Yeah.
Once you've seen a chocolate chip cookie, you've seen a chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah.
But every haunt is different and unique. And, the actors are different. The costumes are different. The way the scenes are set up are different. So there's so much creativity, so much more creativity that you can put into this industry. And then trying to think outside the box and do things that, above and beyond what other haunts do or what other media companies do.
Yeah.
So
that's what kind of sets you guys. I mean, I guess all people that create videos for haunts, you're in charge of creating that story for the customers so people can see it. If someone, the owner or the operators don't have that creativity, yes, they can take some photos or they can take some short reels. I know some, it was a big thing, I think it was last year, where they would take a picture of the actor and then show them in real clothes. They were kind of going through here's what they are buying, getting their makeup ready. And here they are as a character. So they were kind of labeling their characters. That's something that would be easy for people to do.
Yeah.
But you guys kind of sew a story together, and then you can take those clips and cut them down and piece them out throughout the year.
Well, that was something that we did when we had our haunt, is we did kind of a behind the scenes video where we had some of our actors ourselves, and we would basically ask the actors questions and have them answer the questions, like, why did they first come to our haunt? What they enjoy about acting, things like that. Like, we can shoot that type of videos and stuff for you too.
And what's funny is that video actually took off way more than I thought it was going to, which once again goes to show there isn't a set formula. There's no, I don't care what anybody tells you, it's not true. There is no A plus B equals C. It's so much trial and error and just happening to luck out with, almost like a viral video where you happen to capture something, it just hits the right tone at the right time. And for some reason, that video of us being, interviewed ourselves basically about the haunt, we got over like 35,000 views on that video.
Yeah.
And I did not boost it at all. So, it's like, why did that video take off? It wasn't scary. It wasn't, because I feel like the more you can connect with customers, the better. So like, obviously we're all human beings. Nobody's perfect. But if it's almost like having a small business, any small business in your local community, people get to know the owners, you become one on, you know each other by each other's name. Hey, Brian, how's it going? You're here to get some more donuts. I'm using a fictitious example, but you know what I mean? There's some of that too. I think like if people get to know the actors in their, out of character and in character, it kind of personalizes it. It connects them with that person. So that once again, they feel like they're part of it. That's the biggest thing, is to go to a haunt and feel like you're part of the story or you're
part of the community.
Yeah. Yeah. Part of the community.
Yeah. Just follow some of these big haunt social media accounts and kind of stalk them and see what they do, because it's really cool when you have the means to do it.
Something else that's important is making sure that you're branding yourself.
And being consistent.
Yeah, being consistent.
Yes.
So like once you get kind of, I mean, there's a little bit of play as far as like once you get kind of a look, you want to kind of stick with that look. So like I had in an antique mall, I had a booth, and the lady running it, she had the name was about a goat. I'm not going to give away the name, but it was about a goat. And behind the desk, or behind where the cash register was, there was a sign with a goat on it. On the front window, there was a sign with a different goat on it. The sign out front on the outside had a different goat on it. Her Facebook page had a different goat on it.
Yeah, different logo.
And I told her, I said, honey, please stick with one.
Yeah.
You want to brand yourself. You want to, when people see your videos or your content or your logo or your website, you want them to recognize it right off the bat.
Yep.
So that's something else besides marketing yourself and being on social media and stuff. You want to make sure that you're branding yourself. You want people to say, oh, I recognize that video right off the bat, because, I know that that's going to be Dead Factory or that's going to be Aura, because of kind of how it's portrayed, or your logo, or just the way that your images are edited or your videos are edited. So that's something else too, as far as doing like the media and stuff. Even though we have our own creative style, we're also combining that with your style, your look, your story, so that when we do all the videos and stuff for you, people know that, that's you. So anytime you're hiring somebody else, you're obviously going to get a portion of their creativity as well, but just branding yourself is very important as well.
I agree. That's kind of how Dead Factor started out. Like you said, you don't know who's going to pull in that first season, right? You're like, we didn't know where to stick our money, our advertising money. Like we might have had a small radio ad. We did parades. We did postcards. I don't think we started doing banner swaps like year 2 or 3. But it's always been like when you don't have a big budget, it's kind of grows each year. And I think if you're just growing a little each year, you can maintain that your business by doing a lot of stuff because we just kind of focus locally, and then our Facebook ads and stuff, I kind of targeted out, like you were saying, about 100 miles, and targeted Facebook ads that way. But branding, of course, that's, it was always red and black, Dead Factor everywhere, and it's on the signs, it's on the postcards.
And obviously as you grow, things will evolve. Your logo will change slightly. It'll get upgraded,
or
but
color,
you want to stay with
variations of it, but it's still the same.
You still want to stick with the same color scheme or the same idea. Obviously your logo when you first start versus 10 years down the road is probably going to be different, but as a gradual change here and there, so by the end, everybody's still going to know that it's you.
Yeah.
Right. So let us know where we can find you. If somebody wants to hire you or talk to you and get advice, or if you want to come out, go out and see their haunt and give them an estimate or whatever.
Hauntingmedia.com, or it's Haunting Media on Facebook, on any of the social platforms. But hauntingmedia.com. The original idea behind the name was haunting, obviously, like because of haunted houses, but also haunting, like it's hard to forget, it haunts you. So the idea being that we create content that's hard to forget. So anyway.
And you're located in Missouri.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're willing to travel?
Yes. Willing to travel anywhere.
Yep.
That would probably just for the on-scene stuff, because you can do a lot of the video editing and everything once you get back home. And
it's easier to it's kind of twofold. So a lot of haunts obviously improve, add, change over in the off season, right? Everybody does it. And like most haunts, they probably finish up right before they open, and let's have a huge staff to build everything. So in a perfect world, we would be able to get all the footage earlier in the season, earlier in the year. It gives us time to cut everything together, start promoting early, so like if we came out and filmed your haunt in September, yeah, we could probably cobble some stuff together by October, but you should have been promoting over the summer, so to get that footage earlier, the better. So like in the spring, come to the haunt, it's warmer anyway, it's not freezing, to get all that footage, then that gives plenty of time to cut all the videos together, edit everything, and have everything ready. So by June, July, you can start just pumping out social stuff. So ideally, the earlier in the season, the better. But we have done stuff even during a haunt season to get like customers going through or to get other footage. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say something. I forgot what I was gonna say. On the social media end of it, you want to make sure that even though you're not open, you want to still be posting. Don't ever stop posting.
Yeah. Yep.
Even if it's just once or twice a week, just like a check-in, hey, we're at the haunt. We're starting to add some new stuff.
Yeah.
Holidays, put out your creepy little, 4th of July or, your creepy Christmas stuff or whatever. Always be posting, because the more you post, again, the more, reciprocal people seeing your stuff, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And a lot of that, a lot of the posts and stuff you can actually schedule, which I'm sure some people know that, some people don't. You can actually schedule that stuff in advance. You can go in and do all that stuff ahead of time. So you don't even have to even worry about it. Spend a couple of day or whatever, just going through, creating all these posts, pictures, get it all ready. And then for the next month, you're good, and then next month, do it again, or however long you feel like, doing it. But yeah, the main thing is anymore, you just got to keep up, and just, you can't slack on that. Like if you're going to spend any time on the haunt besides build out, you got to promote, you got to, stay in contact with your customer base,
And even when you're posting that stuff in the off season, don't be afraid to spend $5 or $10 and boost a post.
Yeah.
Because people are, even though it's not in the season, if they see your stuff, they're going to follow you. And then if they follow you, then they're going to start seeing your stuff. And then it's going to, click in their head, hey, I need to make sure I go check this haunt out.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't cost a lot. Like I said, $5-10, boost it for, 5 or 10 days. Just keep the stuff posting, keep it going. Make sure that you're constantly trying to get followers and stuff.
Yeah,
and reach out to people.
If you're not 100% sure on how much do we need to budget for photo and video, if we have like, somebody like us come out, contact us. Where are you guys located? What are you wanting? And it's free. It doesn't cost anything for us to say, hey, this is how much it's going to be. A lot of people don't realize that. I'm not going to hound you and go, hey, what do you think? Or, if we can give you a price.
We also understand about being a haunt starting out and not having a lot of money. So, and we love to help people. Like that's something that we both have in common. Yep. We like helping people. We like helping people succeed. So we do like focusing on smaller haunts, because if we can help you grow, then we're growing with you.
Yeah.
We're growing together.
Yep.
Again, it's all part of the haunt community, the heart, I call everybody in the haunt industry, my aunt and family, and I don't see any reason why we shouldn't, scratch each other's back and help each other out. Yep. We're a small niche community, so don't be afraid to ask, even if you just need a couple, photos or something done, we've even like slept on people's couches.
Yeah. Like there's always, so like, that's the thing. It doesn't, obviously I have a real job. Even when we had the haunt, I had a real job. I'm not going to make a living doing this. We do it on the side. We enjoy it. We love doing it. I'm not going to, I'm not planning to take over the world and do, tons of haunts across the country.
There's way too many haunts.
There's way too many haunts. But it's more about, like I said, helping the smaller haunts. Because if I actually broke down between our time and everything else, we're not even making minimum wage. Like when it's all said and done, the hours I spent, you know what I mean? So it's not about that. Obviously, it's nice to be able to supplement our income a little bit, maybe pay off some of this equipment that I purchased.
And go see the haunts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or save us money so we can get a haunt again.
So yeah, it's like I said, we know what it's like. We know what it's like not having the money for stuff. We've been there, done that, or and so we don't charge a ton of money. I don't know how much other places charge, and obviously depending upon your location, that does change things because we have to travel, to get to a location. That adds expenses that we can't just absorb, obviously. But once again, it's like anything. We figure stuff out.
A lot of the places that we've gone and filmed, either like there was a haunt they hadn't even opened yet, and we did some filming for them.
Oh yeah.
And so they didn't even have costumes, but because I did all the costuming and makeup and all that for our haunt, I knew what to do. They had a bunch of clothes, and I went back there and I started creating some costumes, so because we've been in the industry, just things like that. Like I know how to do makeup. I know how to make prosthetics. I know how to make masks. I know how to, do all this stuff that, somebody that's, again, a wedding photographer is not going to know how to do. So there's a bonus there, basically.
Plus, you're all just good people. So,
thank you. I appreciate that.
You guys are nice.
We try.
Well, it's 9:00. I've kept you on here for a long time, for about 2 hours. So yes, people were asking about, we do hold these once a month. These are Haunter Toolbox master classes. Some of them are free, some of them are paid. We usually do one a month, but you can go over to haunterstoolbox.com. You can sign up to be a free member. That is the Haunter package. There's also a Pro Haunter package that gives you a bunch of stuff in our library as well. But yes, we have these once a month. They'll be posted on Facebook in the Haunter's Toolbox group. And if you're on the email list, you'll get an email. So that's
the other thing too. Like they can, if anybody has any questions, you can contact me through Facebook, through the website, like even just general questions that we didn't cover tonight. Like I'm very open, honest person. I like helping other people. I want to see other people succeed just like anybody, so it's like, I don't bite. Don't be afraid, shoot a question, I'll tell you whatever answer you need, so, and it doesn't cost anything, so anyway,
don't be scared.
Don't be scared.
All right, guys. Well, I'm glad to see you guys. I'm glad you got over your haunt crud that I avoided this time. So yeah.
So I apologize for the voice and the coughing.
Yeah.
No problem. Seemed like a lot of people got some good information out of this. It will be it'll be on Haunter's Toolbox. It'll be posted to the top. So if you guys want to go back and watch this video and add things to the chat, it'll be up on top of the group on Facebook. So
okay. That works.
All right. Well, I will see you all later. I'm gonna get off here and actually start organizing some scare batch stuff that I haven't even put away yet. So that was 2 months ago. So,
Well, we appreciate you inviting us.
Thank you so much.
It's been a blast.
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks for helping everyone out about videos, and because I learned a lot. That was my thing. I was taking iPhone photos, but videos, no, I never tried. I mean, it seemed like everything you get on a phone is grainy in the haunt. I don't know if I didn't have the right lighting, but photos I was kind of doing because I had enough photo apps to make it look good, to brighten it up and adding different things to it. So that's how I got by. But then after I saw y'all's video you all did, I was like, yeah.
The main thing with photos in the dark, especially with the iPhone, is you need to put it on a tripod because it's a longer exposure. Because it is dark, you'll notice this if you ever take a picture with your iPhone in the dark. There's like a click, and then there's like a little bit of a delay, and if you don't hold still, it's all blurry. That's a big thing. Is anytime you talk about anything in a dark environment, put it on some kind of a tripod on a table and take your picture that way. If not, it's going to be blurry. It's not going to look right.
Grainy.
Yeah. Or grainy. But yeah, that's probably why. Just keeping it steady. Anyway.
All right. Well, we'll sign off for now. And if you guys want to come back on at another day, let me know. We'll talk about something else.
I'm more than happy to.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
We'll see y'all.
Bye, everyone.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
This podcast episode sponsored by Scarlet Badges. Get your Scarlet Badges at scarebadges.com. Also sponsored by Haunter's Toolbox. Take your haunt to the next level at haunterstoolbox.com. Thank you for listening to Haunt Topic Radio. Please leave a comment wherever you found this podcast. Each comment you leave will help spread the word to other haunters around the world. See you next time.